This is the World Financial Report podcast. My name is Randy Marshall. Joining me is Harold Siegel, our diamond and financial expert. We're taping our show on Thursday, January the 4th, 2018 at 8 a.m. Now, it's really strange. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Harold is in Florida. It's really weird how the weather that we had here about a week ago is making its way down to Florida, and the cold season that's really hitting us hard here in Alberta is hitting Harold and his family in Colorado and Florida. I'm getting over a cold myself, and Harold and his family, they're getting over colds. Harold, I know that you and your wife and family have just been through hell with the cold that you've been battling.
It's been horrible. There's so much illness and sickness. Obviously, coming back on the plane is where it actually happened. So I apologize to everybody because I'm not feeling well today, but we're doing the show, and we're definitely going to be able to give you the information that you need. But sickness is sweeping the country. Weather is crazy all over the place. And Florida, they're actually getting snow here this morning, which hasn't happened in a couple decades. So it's crazy, but all in all, the gold market has actually rallied over the holidays fairly strong. As we're taping today's show, the gold market's at $13.15. It's up $1.70 on the day. Silver's up 4 cents at $17.25. Platinum trading up $3 at $9.63. Palladium is up $18, trading at $11.06. We started trading palladium back many years ago when it was at $180. Actually, palladium has made one of the biggest moves of all commodities over the last decade, and palladium for one of the first times is actually more expensive than platinum. Seems to be a lot of problems in the White House because the U.S. dollar has dropped over the past week or so. It's down to 91.83, down 34 points on the day, and the Canadian dollar is trading at 125. I do believe that the U.S. dollar is going to continue to strengthen, but at this particular point with the geopolitical situations in North Korea, the book that just came out on Donald Trump, all the problems he's having with his cabinet and all the people that are saying things that are going on behind the scenes type of thing, it doesn't look good. The fact is that he's not getting a tremendous amount accomplished. Obviously, he did get a tax bill passed, but the jury's still out on that. We don't know if that's really going to work or not. But the fact is that presidential situation is just getting out of hand, and he seems to be losing credibility every day, and that seems to be hurting the American dollar a little bit at this point. But still very bullish on the U.S. dollar. I think that the U.S. dollar is going to rally, and I still believe that we will see interest rate hikes in the United States, at least 3 or 4 hikes in 2018 that should strengthen the dollar and send it up close to par.
Now, as Harold touched on, there are big storms that are hitting the United States. Thousands of flights have been canceled and weather warnings issued along the eastern United States as a massive winter storm threatens the area with flooding, snow, ice, and high winds. Schools in New York and Boston are closed, and the lockup for today's weekly job numbers has been canceled. Nat gas surging to a record, while electricity prices reached the highest prices in years. Yes, it is a very serious situation that we're seeing in the United States. We know all about it in Alberta. During the holidays, we had brutal cold. Some of the coldest weather we've ever had, minus 45 wind chills. That's right, minus 45 wind chills. Now, in a very short period of time, it has warmed up, and you're seeing pipes starting to burst. Pipes that were frozen are bursting, and you have plumbing companies just running from one situation to another. In fact, even here in Edmonton, one of the companies brought in people from Medicine Hat to help out. That's how busy it is. Now, BNN, the Canadian business channel, saying Atlantic Canada and the Northeast U.S. are bracing for what's being called a weather bomb. Up to 20 centimeters of snow is expected in New York City. Upward of 30 centimeters is anticipated in Boston. St. John has been put on notice for as much as 45 centimeters, with only slightly less expected in Halifax. Beyond the precipitation, there's also a deep freeze in central Canada. Tons of implications here for power utilities utilities, travelers, and others, including retailers. To give you an idea of what's happening here in Edmonton today, Thursday, January the 4th, they're saying sunny and +3. Friday, sunny -5. Saturday, +1. Sunday, +1. Monday, -2. And then Tuesday, we're back in the deep freeze of -17. But we went from brutal cold all the way to what is very unexpected, and that is a strong warming trend. Now, some of the numbers that we wanted to run through that Harold didn't touch on: US dollar was at 91.94, Canadian dollar, and the Canadian dollar is at 79.86. Gold, as Harold said, around 13.17, silver 17.28. Gold silver ratio is 76.58. WTI 61.73, Brent 67.81, nat gas at 3.02. Now Bitcoin in US $14,600, Bitcoin in Canadian $18,268. And it should be noted that just prior to Christmas we had a big pullback in Bitcoin. And then it recovered somewhat, but it's still not at those lofty highs that it was maybe about 2 weeks before Christmas. And now another currency, cryptocurrency, is becoming very popular. It's called Ripple. And that's one of the things that we're really going to have to keep an eye on in the year 2018. What happens with cryptocurrencies? This is from the Wall Street Journal. We do not have it in our free weekly newsletter. Just breaking this morning from the Wall Street Journal and the Drudge Report. Harold, I thought this was very interesting. Cash-strapped people in Venezuela are offering to pay for medicines with diamonds. With hospital shelves bare and the government stumped on how to settle $5 billion in arrears to pharmaceutical companies, cash-strapped Venezuelans recently offered some foreign suppliers alternative compensation: diamonds, gold, and coltran, the rare metal used to make cell phones and PlayStations. The proposed exchange perplexed the pharma representatives, whose companies had no policies on accepting precious gems and metals as payment. Now, according to 3 people familiar with the meeting last month where Venezuela's health minister made the offer, those companies were really scratching their head. Well, it isn't clear if any of the companies accepted it. The proposal underscores how Venezuela's economic collapse is forcing the president, embattled, and his administration under fire, to improvise to pay for goods as severe dollar shortages push the country towards a barter society. That is front page Wall Street Journal today, wallstreetjournal.com, via the Drudge Report. And Harold, as we've said for a long time, that's why we believe in hard assets. When you need to get out of Dodge, when you're in an extreme situation, that's where we come with the hard assets: gold, silver, diamonds. Very important.
Well, unfortunately with Venezuela, their inflation rate is so high at this point here, and I know about Venezuela because I have friends and partners that are from Venezuela, so we obviously know what's happening there. Inflation is so high there that it's almost impossible to buy daily things like bread and that type of thing. So obviously, if they have no cash, bartering is the only way that they can get anything. And the only thing of any value is gold and diamonds, in that country, which is what they mine. So it's a very difficult situation there. I have no idea how they're going to get out of the problems that they're in. But at this point, at least they have something to barter with.
And that is so important. Hard assets. That's what we've advocated for a long time. And you're seeing when things get very serious, those with the hard assets do have options where others do not. Connect with Harold. His website is rarecoloreddiamonds.com. rarecoloreddiamonds.com, the website if you'd like to receive our free weekly newsletter. Connect with Harold at 1-800-432-1022. 1-800-432-1022. The website rarecoloreddiamonds.com. We do a podcast weekly and a newsletter weekly. And definitely throughout the entire year, we're going to be keeping you up to date what's happening with the financial markets. Now, the Fed minutes came out just the other day, and Harold touched on it. It's interesting to note they show a divide over its forecast of 3 rate hikes this year. Now, the Federal Reserve in December forecast 3 rate hikes for 2018, but minutes of that central bank meeting released Wednesday show a distinct lack of unity with the projection. The minutes portray 2 camps of roughly the same size who are both uncomfortable with the forecast and for completely different reasons. One camp of a a few officials on the dovish side believe that 3 rate hikes this year might be too aggressive. These officials argue that 3 rate hikes might prevent a sustained return to the Fed's 2% inflation target. They said they didn't think interest rates had much further to rise before reaching the level of where rates would no longer be accommodative or boosting growth. The other more hawkish camp of a few officials thought the forecast of 3 rate hikes was too slow. These officials noted that the financial conditions are not tightened and have not been since the Fed started raising rates at the end of 2015 and then continued low rates, and that risked financial instability. FOMC hawks continue to be rate normalization gradualists, and the FOC doves are perpetual pessimists who view rate normalization as something that they believe is not really positive for the United States economy. And at this point in time, though, we will look ahead in 2018. As Harold said, they're expecting 3 rate hikes. It would not surprise me in the slightest, based on the economy and the tax benefits that people will see from the Trump tax plan that was just put into place. You could see potentially maybe 4 rate increases in 2018. And Harold, that's something that people need to take into account.
You bet. If they're raising interest rates in the U.S., it's to strengthen the U.S. dollar. So that's why we're bullish on the U.S. dollar. We think that the U.S. dollar will rally this year. Stock market is doing tremendous, broke 25,000, as I mentioned. The commodity markets, which we also trade and follow very closely, have basically been trading in a range. Now, in order for gold to break out, gold has got to break above 1380. And close twice above the 1380 for gold to really start to make its way back to the 1900 level that we saw back in 2011. But a lot would have to happen before that would really happen. We'd need to see actually the U.S. dollar fall in order for gold to really get up to those levels, or a geopolitical situation with North Korea or whatever that would push gold higher. Aside from that, gold has moved about $50 over the Christmas holidays on very, very light trading, with really no strong news coming out at this point. So again, at this point, most of the foreign money that's coming into the U.S. is going into the stock market because it's on a tear at this point. The market is extremely high. I would not be in it at this particular point, or if you are, have stops in the market to make certain that if something happens and the market does fall, that you protect your position as much as you can.
We believe in hard assets, gold, silver, diamonds. They're a portfolio must in the times that we live in, obviously financially through the financial crisis and geopolitically as well. Speak with Harold. He has a website, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. This website is like going to a museum online with the world's greatest investment diamonds. Go to rarecoloreddiamonds.com, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, or speak with Harold personally and privately about investing in diamonds, 1-800-432-1022. Get the companion to the podcast, our free weekly newsletter. It's full of tons of information. In 2018, it looks like things could be very ripe for an unexpected crisis, according to Eurasia Group. They say this year could be a political crisis in the making on the scale of a financial crash a decade ago. Eurasia Group warned in its annual outlook, describing global political challenges as daunting. The New York-based political consultancy said that if we had to pick one year for a big unexpected crisis, the geopolitical event of the 2008 financial meltdown, it feels like 2018. The biggest uncertainty surrounds China's moves to fill a vacuum as the U.S. influence continues to decline, stoking tensions between the two powers, it said, that is likely going to affect economies as well. We will see much greater fragmentation of the global marketplace because governments are becoming more interventionist. According to Eurasia President Ian Bremner, he said in a Bloomberg interview, part of this is because the Chinese Chinese have an alternative model for their investments, and they're increasingly going to be seen as the most important driver of other economies around the world, will align themselves with Beijing rather than Washington. But this Eurasia group coming out saying big unexpected crisis in 2018 due to a geopolitical event. And Harold, here you have the other day, the leader of North Korea, sort of, in my opinion, reaching out with a little bit of an olive branch to the United States and Donald Trump, saying, well, maybe we should get together and talk. And then what ends up happening? Donald Trump gets on Twitter and starts talking about his button is bigger than North Korea's button. It's just absolutely maddening at times what's happening geopolitically in the world.
You bet, Randy. And it's, again, it would take a lot for one of them to push that button, but you've got two people that are hotheads, and anything is possible. So that's why, the market is supported in gold at this point here. I think that we've got about a $200 premium. Anything can happen with him. That's why we're seeing at this time the rally that we saw in gold, which was about $50 over the holiday season. It was nothing to do with the actual marketplace. It was more geopolitical and the fact that the U.S. dollar did fall a little bit over the holidays.
One of the other things for 2018, the weather. And what we're seeing with weather is a lot of costs associated with cleaning up the Houstons, the Floridas, the big fires around the world. That includes not only here in Canada, but in Los Angeles, California as well. And in 2017, it was one of the worst ever for U.S. weather disasters. And they're saying that that will not change whatsoever and is going to cost the world billions and billions of dollars. Now, I'm not going to get into any great debate here about global warming or believing or not believing. I do believe something's happening. We probably are a big part of it is going to be a driver going forward. Look at this. Think about it. You're looking at a scenario where here in Alberta we had minus 45 wind chills. And that really isn't too out of the norm for us in the winter. We usually get once in a while 2-3 weeks of minus 30, minus 35, once in a while minus 40, but you saw an extreme minus 45. Now, in the past, that didn't make its way down to the United States, or if it did, it didn't really have that much of an impact. But look at what's happening now. You see this extreme weather, and it's hitting eastern Canada, it's going down to the United States. Heck, it's even making its way down to you in Florida, and that is a big change from what we've seen in the past. Harold likes to drive around in his car in Florida with the top down, and I don't blame him. Not with the heater on, because that's not what they're used to in Florida, right, Harold?
Oh, you bet. Well, we got snow in Florida. There was snow in Atlanta last week. I was in Colorado, and there was no snow there, but there was snow in southern Texas and northern Mexico. So there's something crazy happening with the weather. The other thing is that in Florida, what they're doing is the farmers are scrambling to try to save their crops because it's 20 degrees in northern Florida. And as we know, Florida grows a lot of orange juice and oranges and grapefruits and that type of thing. So there could be a hit on the crops this year. And between the fires in California and the cold weather coming down to Florida and what's happening up in the Northeast, actually in Boston area, they had hurricanes of snow yesterday. And today, over 100-mile-an-hour winds, and it was snowing. So the weather has just been horrible and causing a lot of problems, obviously. And one of the things you have to watch right now are the crops actually, what's happening in Florida with them.
One of the things that we have in our free weekly newsletter is a lot of information on gold and silver. And in our silver section of the newsletter, a lot of people are bullish, including Goldman Sachs, on silver in 2018. And I encourage you to get that from Harold, our free weekly newsletter. Goldman Sachs saying that we could expect a return of 17 to 20% for silver in 2018. Speak with Harold personally and privately about investing in hard assets, gold, silver, diamonds. Get our free weekly newsletter. Telephone number 1-800-432-1022. And as well, our free weekly newsletter. You can get it by Harold's website, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. It was a pretty good year for the wealthy in 2017. The world's wealthiest became 1 trillion richer. And obviously, we know that when it comes to wealth, when that snowball starts coming down the hill, it is really something that's almost unstoppable. And for those that are wealthy, like the Jeff Bezoses of the world, people like Warren Buffett, the wealth that they have is just so large that they're making and losing billions of dollars on a day, which is incomprehensible. But yes, the world's wealthiest become 1 trillion richer in 2017. Now, Harold, we want to talk about diamonds on today's program because of rarecolorediamonds.com, your website. And in our newsletter, we have Graf paying $16.5 million for a 476 carat Maya Prosperity Diamond from Sierra Leone. Just before the close of 2017, Graf, a leader in the diamond business since 1960, acquired a 476 carat rough diamond named the Maya Prosperity Diamond that was mined in Sierra Leone for $16.5 million. It's another in a long line of extraordinary diamonds that have been picked up by Graf, and they're calling him the King of Diamonds. The magnificent stone is the 29th largest diamond ever on Earth and the 5th largest stone hailing from Sierra Leone. It was discovered by Maya Mining, which is a company jointly owned by Germanite Sierra Leone and Trustco Resources. Interestingly enough, this stone was part of the first extraction executed after the two mining companies partnered, and they obviously must be very pleased with that partnership as they found this massive diamond. We do want to mention as well, earlier this year, Graf picked up the Peace Diamond, a 709 carat rough, which it later sold to the government of Sierra Leone. Additionally, earlier this year, Graf actually acquired the Lasita Lorona diamond. It was 1109 carats, a beauty, for $53 million. So, Harold, you can see that, yes, the colored diamonds, the rare colored diamonds that we talk about, the pinks and the blues, and the reds, the yellows, the greens, they're the rarest of the rare, but these big white diamonds are starting to catch the attention of the king of diamonds, Lawrence Graf.
Certainly seems to be the way that he's going, is buying large, rough, spectacular diamonds. But again, he has bought some of the world's greatest diamonds, the Graf Pink, at auction. Some of the most beautiful diamonds he's bought over the last decade or so. And again, even though he's in the business of selling diamonds, when you're paying that type of money for a diamond, it's still an investment, a major investment. And now he's going to cut these diamonds and turn them into magnificent pieces of jewelry. I can't wait to see what they're actually going to be when they come out. To cut a diamond like that, a 400 or 500 carat diamond, it takes a long time to cut a diamond like that. They've really got to sit down at GIA and plot out how to really cut that diamond, because last thing they want to do is have the diamond explode or whatever. Normally, a diamond that size will be cut down to just one diamond. So it'll be exciting to see what he does. Graf has really done an amazing job. I've been in many other stores and seen many other diamonds, and he really is the king of diamonds, in my opinion. He's got the most beautiful diamonds ever.
Before we get out of here today, and we're going a little shorter than we normally do because Harold's not feeling well and I'm getting over a cold as well. Another epic Rolex Daytona, and we know that we had that record-breaking price of $17.8 million for a epic Rolex Daytona, which belonged to the collection of the one and only actor Paul Newman, and they're going to be coming out with an auction in Geneva in May of 2018, and they are going to have some of the finest, rarest, and best preserved Rolex Daytona watches known to exist. So after the sale of the Newman Rolex for $17.8 million, surprise, surprise, more people are interested in getting in on the party. Also, dust off that VCR, a cinema chain is starting to rent VHS movies, if you can believe it. Here I am watching Netflix at Christmas, and they're actually looking to start a VHS chain down in the United States. There actually still are a few blockbusters, if you can believe it, in Alaska and until recently Mexico. But Alamo Drafthouse Cinema wants you to watch VHS movies. Also, remember the multi-million-dollar Da Vinci painting that sold for $450 million? Salvador Mundi was the last Da Vinci, only if you count two others. Now it seems that there are two others very, very rare Salvador Da Vinci paintings that are out there held by museums, and they are not interested in selling. But the way it was originally put forward to the public at auction is that this was the rarest of the rare, this Salvador Mundi painting from Da Vinci, the last Da Vinci, and it turns out there's a few more out there than has been expected. And finally, the world's most expensive vodka bottle stolen from a Danish bar. Copenhagen police are investigating the theft of a bottle of vodka that is claimed to be the world's most expensive at $1.3 million. Police investigators say it's too early to say whether the perpetrator of the theft at the Cafe 33 bar had broken in or had used a key. Nothing else was stolen. Police were notified of the theft on Tuesday, and the bottle is made of 3 kilograms, 6.6 pounds of gold, and the equivalent amount of silver with a diamond-encrusted cap. The bar owner, who has 1,200 vodka bottles at his bar, told the Denmark newspaper Extra Bladet that the bottle resembles a vintage car front, and he said the bottle was uninsured and on loan from a Russian businessman. Will they get it back, Harold, or do you think somebody's going to maybe drink the profits?
That sounds like an inside situation to me. I really want to apologize to everybody today. I've had the flu, and this has been a very difficult show for us to do. We've both been sick. My whole office has been sick all week, as most people know that have tried to call in and got the message. So I apologize. We'll do a much better show next week. But both Randy and I were very, very sick this week. I caught the flu. And I'll tell you, down in the States, the flu has been so bad that people have been hospitalized because of it. I've been down for about 3 or 4 days. We did not want to miss the show today, but I apologize for the quality of the show because I just I'm getting over this horrible flu, and I promise that the next show will be a lot better. I do want to wish everybody a very happy 2018 and prosperous. I'm looking forward to having a phenomenal business year with all of yous. And again, I really thank everybody for being loyal listeners to the show, and we will be back with you again next week.
Thank you, Harold, and I agree. Happy New Year to all our listeners of the podcast and those that followed us over from the radio show. Get our newsletter, 1-800-432-1022 from Harold. Listen to the podcast on a weekly basis. So important, and have that newsletter. And throughout the week to week, we will keep you up to date on what's happening in the financial markets. But yes, here in Alberta, there is a bad flu bug going around. I know my poor aunt, she could not go anywhere around the holiday season because she was worrying about infecting people, and she was very, very ill. And here she is in Edmonton, and Harold down in Colorado and Florida with the same thing. And good luck to those on the eastern seaboard with that big storm coming, because it is one heck of a storm. And we've been through the cold snap in Edmonton, and here's hoping that throughout the province of Alberta, very limited further pipe bursts, because very expensive to continue to fix all these problems. We will connect with you next week. Speak with Harold personally and privately about investing in hard assets. 1-800-432-1022. Get our free weekly newsletter from him. That's it. Another edition of the World Financial Report podcast with Harold Siegel and me, Randy Marshall. We will talk to you next week.